broadcast for the Freeman channel, and it's time to quit testing whether the system is working or not. It appears to be, and just get started on doing some of the commentary that this thing is supposed to do. So hopefully you guys will just accept that this is a work in progress, and it will refine up and get smoother as I move along from podcast to podcast, or live cast as it is. But anyway, let's see what is the issue at hand currently, and that is this election that is up in the air right now and uncertain, but it's looking more and more like the outcome is being determined in a negative fashion for all of us Retrumplicans. And so that brings up the fundamental question of, if the election outcome goes as expected and Trump loses all his appeals and legal pathways to contesting the election, well, what are we left with at that point? And that is the profound question of the day. If the elections are rigged beyond the level that I believe them to be up to this point, then there's no point in voting anymore, is there? There isn't. Up to this point, I simply believed that we were presented with a set of pre-selected candidates that were approved by the moneyed interests, the ultra wealthy and corporations, big tech, recently big tech, finance, you name it, the military industrial complex, all of these large players in what we call the ruling class had always constrained our choices over the decades to a set of candidates that are not a threat to the system. Donald Trump changed that in 2016. I hadn't bothered to vote since 2004, and when he showed up, I decided, let's put this guy in there just to see what happens, because I knew that he was not a pre-selected what you would say screened candidate that is acceptable to the ruling class. But in the end, we see that they can do whatever it takes to reject that choice of the people. And that leaves us in a very interesting place as far as political elections and the peaceful determining of how the country is run. You know, we see just recently the Wisconsin Board of Canvassers is certifying the election results now. Michigan will also be doing the same. Georgia is on the verge of doing the same. So by Monday, this will be pretty much wrapped up and finished. And the interesting thing is, you see all these people just posting on Twitter, and I do the same thing. I post on here about how upset they are. And I do have a slightly more varied group of people that I follow. Some of them don't believe in the sanctity of the electoral process, similar to me, and they suggest more radical solutions. But if we simply keep the context to what the average Republican or conservative is watching and listening to, it's always going to be the same thing again. You got to get out and vote. Well, all of that just came to a head on this election. If we believe the reports from Trump's lawyers, and I'll try and find that right now. If we believe the reports from Trump's lawyers that the raw data that they supposedly have captured shows that Trump won a overwhelming victory on the order of Reagan in 19, and yet somehow is going to be overturned, then all of the rhetoric that their typical Republican gives you about voting doesn't matter anymore, does it? There's no point to it. And I just need to find that that particular post here. It shows a map that they supposedly have the data to back up that Trump won overwhelmingly if it was a fair election. And this goes further to the whole future of peaceful political processes in politics. It goes to talk radio. It goes to the conservative news outlets. What good are they when we get reduced in such an obvious fashion to banana republic? And I say they aren't. They are of no use. And if this election goes down as we suspect it's going to, that Joe Biden will be the president, then it is time to implement the next step of freeing ourselves from this trap, fake reality, much like the Matrix. And that first step is to stop voting. A lot of you people may not like that, but when you finally realize the system is rigged, if you keep playing it, then all you're doing is putting your stamp of approval on that rigged process. And you can reverse the famous saying, if you don't vote, you have no right to complain. Well, that will become, if you vote, you have no right to complain. Because you're the sucker that keeps on going and playing the rigged shell game on the street corner and complaining every time to your buddy that you never win. But then there you are playing it again the very next day. And that is my initial observations for this first podcast. I will follow up at a later time, and they will get better and better as we go along. And I do promise you the pathway out of this. So until next time, I'll see you.